So those of you who are new to Illuminate, this is the Participate interface. At the top left, you can see the participant window, and that shows us who's joining us and leaving us and so forth. And below that, also on the left, is the chat window, where you can chat to us and to each other and ask questions, etc. You can either address the whole room or address the moderators directly with a question. And to the right of the participant interface, you can see the whiteboard where we'll be showing the presentation. If at any point during the session you have a problem with your audio, if you can't hear, then you can just, it seems to me, okay. If there's any problem you have a problem with your audio, go to the Tools menu, select Audio and Run Audio Setup Wizard, and just follow the instructions there. If you're having problems still, try clicking on the green striped wavy line at the very bottom of the left-hand side. I'm not sure exactly what it does, but it sometimes makes a difference. When I hand over to Angela, you'll be able to see the video feed in the window as shown here. To move the video, just grab the bar and move it into position. You can resize the box if you want to using the enlarge and reduce buttons. And if your video feed looks coarse or grey, you can change this by selecting Find Colour in the Maximum Quality option menu. There's a chat window, as I mentioned, in which you can choose to address the moderator or the whole room. If you have any questions, type them into the chat box, and I'll note them down for the questions and answer sessions at the end of the session. We're going to be recording the session, so it's worth remembering that whatever you write in the box will be recorded. We'll make the recording available afterwards alongside with the PowerPoint slides in about a week or so on the website. And finally, you'll be able to request a certificate of attendance at the end of the webinar. You need to stay with us for the whole webinar, and details will follow at the end of the webinar. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Angela. Just give me a couple of minutes to set her up, and then you'll be able to see her video.
Hello, I hope you all can hear me. My name is Angela Llanas, and I am here to talk to you today about using puppets in the primary classroom. Now, I have based this webinar on my own methodology. I call my methodology LPTS. This is to make it sound very official, like TPS, total physical response. I wonder if you can imagine what LPTS stands for. Well, let's look at L first. L stands for laughs. There is nothing more depressing for a primary teacher than to be teaching in a class where the kids are totally silent and you're getting no reaction from them. If you look at the class and you see that the kids are laughing, you know that they're having fun. If they're having fun, I believe that they are learning. If they're not having fun, I believe that it's quite possible that they're not learning. So that takes us on to P. What does P stand for? I imagine a lot of you are saying practice, and you'd almost be correct, but in fact it stands for participation. In the old days, Teachers used to stand at the front of the class, explain structures, write the structures on the board, and the kids would sit there copying them into their notebooks. And also they might well have been beginning to fall asleep. Because a language is a live thing. If the kids are not participating, then also they're not learning. They have to be seeing the structures, using the structures to say things that are meaningful for them. So that's the first two things in my methodology. L for laughs, P for participation. Which takes us to T. T is talking. As a language is a live thing, you are never going to be able to master language unless you can talk. Now, I remember that when I was at school many, many, many years ago, I learnt Latin. Probably most of you were never forced to learn Latin, but Latin, of course, is a dead language. So we learnt Latin through reading texts and translating the texts. We never actually spoke because difficult to know how Latin was pronounced, as it's a dead language. So it's very difficult for me to remember much of all those years of studying Latin. We want our children to speak, to talk, because when they're talking, it's going to pass into their minds and they're going to remember it. Which leaves us only with S. S is sunny faces. If I'm in a classroom and I look out and I see everybody looking very, very serious, I'm not going to be very happy. If I look out and see all the kids smiling back at me, then I know that they're enjoying the class. So what we're going to look at today is based on my personal methodology. You won't find it in any book, which is LPTS, laughs, participation, talking, and funny faces. Right, let's go on. But I said that we were going to be talking about puppets. I have a puppet here. He's one of my favorites. As you can see, it's a zebra. But how do puppets fit in with my methodology? Well, let's see. First of all, children love puppets. Next time you go to a toy store, look for the puppet section. You'll find, you always do find, that there are a lot of puppets in the puppet section. Or turn on your television and look at children's programs. Many of children's programs are based on the use of puppets. They may be cartoon puppets, but they're still puppets. So obviously, the people in the television programs would not design their programs with puppets in them unless they knew that children love them. Children love puppets, don't they, Zebra? Yes, they do. Now, with puppets, there's a tendency for all the kids to join in with the class. Why do they do this? Precisely because the children love the puppets. Of course, you can do exactly the same thing by drawing on the board, by showing pictures, by using a textbook which has a very attractive set of illustrations. But it won't be quite the same. Puppets are so popular that the children forget their nerves and they want to join in with your class. So that's an excellent reason for using puppets in the class. It's not the only reason though. This is the major reason. The major reason is that puppets can't talk. Can you talk? Puppets can't talk. And if the puppets can't talk, then the children have to. The children have to talk for them. So those are three very good reasons for using puppets in the classroom. And we're still missing the most important one of all. What is it? Puppets are fun. And if you remember LPTS, you will know that the basis of LPTS is that the children in your class should be having fun. Because only when kids are having fun are they learning. So now we know why we're going to be talking about puppets today. Now we've talked about the toy stores and the puppets on sale there. Now, teaching is not generally a frightfully well-paid profession. So, although you could go down to the local toy store and buy your puppets, the truth is that you're going to need an awful lot of puppets to have variety in your classroom. And, well, you can buy your puppets, but as it's going to be a very expensive thing to do throughout the year, why not make your own puppets? Now, I'm not saying that you can make puppets anywhere near as well as the people who sell them in the stores. Of course you can't. I'm not actually even saying that you should always make the puppets. Most of the time the kids will make the puppets themselves. All they're going to need is very simple material. We need construction paper. You're going to need a lot of that. You need glue. You need pencils, colored pencils, scissors. These are things that exist in every school. And you will find that it will add to the fun factor if the kids make their own puppets. And remember, if they're having fun, they're learning. And it even becomes part of the whole learning process, because while they're making their puppets in groups, they should be using English as well. Pass the scissors, please. I need a brown pencil. It's all part of the learning process. Now, I bought a couple of puppets to show you today. The most simple you can make. The most simple puppets you can make are mask puppets. Now, this is made with construction paper, a crayon, a bit of ingenuity with the picture, although as you will see I am no great artist, and something for the kids to hold on to, a lollipop stick. And the lollipop stick has been stuck into place with ordinary tape. So you will find that the kids will be very happy making their own mask puppet. But what can we use these mask puppets for? Well, let's click on and see. Oh! I hope you recognize that this is Jimmy. And here I have Jimmy's mom. And we then have a little scene with Jimmy and his mom that will give the kids lots of exciting practice that they're really going to enjoy. You see, Jimmy is like lots and lots of young kids. When Jimmy wants something, Jimmy really wants something, and he can't take no for an answer. So, one day, Jimmy was feeling a little hungry, and Jimmy said, "Mom, can I have a lollipop, please?" Well, all mothers are against lollipops. Lollipops are bad for your teeth. So what do you think his mom says? She says, "No, you can't." Poor Jimmy. So Jimmy went away for a little bit, but it wasn't long before he was back again. And he said, "Mom, can I have a cotton candy, please?" Oh, now his mom was really furious. And she said, "No, you can't." Not much time had passed before Jimmy came back to his mom and he said, "Mom, can I have a chocolate bar, please?" Now his mother was really furious. She lost it, and she said, "No, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't." And that's the end of the story. Now, what are the kids going to do? They make the puppets. You divide them up into pairs. They each practice the scene. Of course, they might need a little memory help, so on the board you draw a lollipop, a cotton candy, and a chocolate bar. Now, why is this kind of practice so good for language learning? This is the reason. Acting with puppets is really good for stress and intonation. If you could do it with just acting with the kids, but if you say to kids, "shout," it goes against everything they have been taught about being in the classroom. Of course, they could all shout perfectly okay outside the classroom, but we tend to tell them not to shout in the classroom. This gives them a wonderful excuse, really, to shout and practice stress and intonation. Because although I was being a bit exaggerated, I was in fact using the actual stress and intonation so often used between children and their parents. So it's no, no, no. The kids can relate to it. They're used to that kind of scene with their mother at home anyway. Okay. You see, the really important thing is, in the classroom, we have to bring the whole scene to life for the children. Now, I know you will all have chosen textbooks that attempt to do this as well. And I would certainly be the last one to be against textbooks. But on the other hand, you need variety. It's okay to say, open the textbook to page 56 and have a look at the story. It's much more exciting sometimes to do something really different and bring in puppets, make the whole thing really different. So, well, let's have a look. We're trying to bring the whole thing to life for the children. Wow! We start with an illustration. This is a very attractive scene for kids. Look, we're in a mysterious wood. We can see insects. There's a river. There's a really gorgeous fish in the river. There's a waterfall. And on the opposite bank of the river, there's a rabbit. So first of all, we get the kids to talk about the scene. Then we bring along two of my friends. Now, my friends are... Wow, I can't get my finger in. Yes, I can. I have here a tiger. You may say, oh, but Angela said you should never go and buy a tiger, and I bet she didn't make that too true. I did not make it. Nor did I go to an expensive toy store to buy it. I actually bought it at the side of the street very cheaply. And the same with Mr. Duck. One should never let an opportunity pass. If you see them selling puppets at the side of the street, wow, that's the moment to open your window and buy one. Okay, so this is Mr. Duck, quack, 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 and this is Mr. Tiger. One day, Mr. Duck was walking along by a river, and suddenly he saw Mr. Tiger coming in the opposite direction. And Mr. Duck, who's a very polite duck, said, "Good morning, Mr. Tiger, quack, 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 quack." Mr. Tiger said, "Hello, Mr. Duck." Then Mr. Duck said, "I'm walking by the river, quack, 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 quack. Would you like to come too?" Mr. Tiger said, "Okay." And Mr. Duck and Mr. Tiger started walking beside the river. Well, it was a very sunny day. And very soon they began to get a little hungry. Just then, Mr. Duck saw that fish in the river, and he got very excited and he said, "Quack, quack, 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 quack." And he turned to Mr. Tiger and he said, "Would you like to have some fish to eat?" "Oh," said Mr. Tiger. He was horrified. And Mr. Tiger said, "Yuck! Tigers don't eat fish." Mr. Duck was very surprised. He said, "Quack, quack, quack, they don't? No, 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 said Mr. Tiger. Oh, said Mr. Duck. They walked another 2 or 3 steps. Then Mr. Tiger looked across the river and he saw a rabbit. And he said, "Hey, look, there's a rabbit. Would you like to have some rabbit with me?" Mr. Duck was horrified. He said, "Oh, yuck! Ducks don't eat rabbits." At which Mr. Tiger was very surprised. He said, "Grrr, they don't?" "No, no, 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 quack, quack, quack." "Oh," said Mr. Tiger. Both the animals thought for a little while. Then Mr. Duck jumped straight into the river, splash, and caught the fish. And Mr. Tiger jumped straight over the river and caught the rabbit. Then Mr. Duck and Mr. Tiger sat down and had a delicious picnic. Mr. Duck ate the fish and Mr. Tiger ate the rabbit. This is delicious. This is very good. And that's the end of that story. Now, what is the advantage of this kind of story where you're combining pictures and puppets? The advantage is it's going to help the kids to understand. They all know that ducks like fish. And they know that tigers like meat. So the story becomes easy for them to understand. After the teacher has told the story, what happens next? Well, the kids act out the story themselves. But remember, they only have to act out the part of Mr. Duck and Mr. Tiger. So what you do is you divide the class in 2 and you say, okay, you are all Mr. Duck and this side is all Mr. Tiger. Then the teacher narrates the story and the kids act the voices. But it all started with puppets and a picture to make the story come alive for the kids. Now, comprehension can be a bit of a problem for really young children. Why? They don't yet have the knowledge of English. They don't feel confident enough in English just to listen to words or even look at pictures in the textbook and feel that they have thoroughly understood. There's a great way to avoid that when you're working with puppets, and that is to use traditional stories. If you use traditional stories, the kids already know them. They've heard them when their parents read the stories to them. They've seen them acted out on the television. They may even have read the stories themselves. There are a certain number of stories that all kids know. So if you start with a traditional story like this, you are halving your problems. You are taking away the problem of comprehension, and you are leaving the actual structures for them to concentrate on. So let's have a look and see how that might work. Traditional stories really do help comprehension. So come with me into a forest where there's a little house. And in the house live, you guessed it, 3 bears. Here they are, just little finger puppets. So here are the 3 bears. This is Daddy Bear, this is Mummy Bear, and this is Baby Bear. One morning, Mummy Bear made breakfast, but Daddy Bear still wasn't hungry. So Daddy Bear said, let's go for a walk in the forest. And Mummy Bear said, oh, what a good idea. And Baby Bear got very excited and said, I like walking in the forest. So off they went for a walk in the forest. Meanwhile, there was someone else in the forest. There was a little girl with golden hair, and her name was Goldilocks. So Goldilocks was playing in the forest, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and she came to the 3 bears' house. And she knocked on the door. She waited, but nobody answered the door. So she knocked on the door again, this time much louder. And she waited, da, 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 but nobody came. So she knocked on the door a 3rd time, very loudly indeed. But nobody came. So Goldilocks pushed open the door. And she walked straight into the house. Now, Goldilocks was feeling a little tired. And the first thing, there's the door, which is just closed. The first thing she saw was Daddy Bear's chair. So Goldilocks, it was a very big chair, Goldilocks climbed up into the chair and she sat down. She said, this chair's too big. So she jumped down again. She looked around and she saw another chair. Oh, this was much smaller. So she didn't know it was Mummy Bear's chair. She climbed into the chair and she sat down. But you know, the chair was very soft and she went, boing, 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 boing. She said, no, this chair isn't comfortable. So she looked round and she saw a 3rd chair. It was small. It was comfortable. Wow! Goldilocks sat in the chair. The trouble is, it was too small. And Goldilocks broke the chair. Oh dear. Now Goldilocks was very hungry. And she looked at the table, and what did she see? She saw a delicious bowl of porridge. It was Daddy Bear's porridge. So she started to eat it. It was too hot. So she moved on to the next bowl of porridge, which was Mummy Bear's porridge. And she started to eat it. It was too cold. I don't like this porridge. Then she saw Baby Bear's porridge. Goldilocks tasted the porridge. This porridge is delicious! And she ate it all up. Now Goldilocks was very tired. She saw some stairs. I wonder, she said. Goldilocks started to climb up the stairs. And at the top she came into the bear's bedroom. And right in front of her was a great big bed. It was Daddy Bear's bed. So Goldilocks jumped onto the bed. This bed is too hard, said Goldilocks. And she looked around. And she saw another bed. So Goldilocks jumped onto Mummy Bear's bed. And it was ding, 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 ding. Oh, this bed is horrible. It's too soft. So she took another look round, and she saw, guess what? Baby Bear's bed. And Goldilocks got into the bed, and she lay down, and this bed is perfect. And soon Goldilocks was fast asleep. Right then, the three bears returned from their walk. Here they come. And they opened the door and went into the house. And Daddy Bear looked at his chair and he said, "Oh, someone's been sitting in my bed, in my chair." Mummy Bear was very shocked. Then she looked at her chair and she said, "Oh, someone's been sitting in my chair." And then Baby Bear looked at his chair and he said, "Someone sat in my chair and broke it." Daddy Bear wanted to change the subject. So Daddy Bear said, "Let's have breakfast." And then he looked at his bowl of porridge and he said, "Hey, wait a minute. Someone has tasted my porridge." Mummy Bear said, "No!" Then Mummy Bear looked at her porridge and she said, "Oh! Someone has tasted my porridge." Then Baby Bear looked at his porridge and he said, "Someone's tasted my porridge and they've eaten it all." So Daddy Bear said, "This is very strange. Let's go upstairs." And the 3 bears climbed the stairs. Daddy Bear looked at his bed and he said, "Hey, wait a minute. Someone's been on my bed." Mummy Bear was very shocked and she said, "No! Who?" Then she looked at her bed and she said, "Oh! Someone's been on my bed too!" And then Baby Bear stared at his bed in amazement and he said, "Oh, someone is sleeping in my bed." The 3 bears were very shocked. Just then, Goldilocks started to wake up. She sat up in bed and she saw the 3 bears looking at her. And she screamed, "Help! Help! Bears!" And she jumped out of bed and she ran downstairs and she ran out of the house. And the 3 bears never saw her again. Good. And that's the end of the story. Now, how are we going to get the kids to make their own finger puppets? Because, you know, you can have some finger puppets, but you certainly can't buy them for everybody else. It's simple. All you need is a post-it. Every school has post-its. The kids draw the picture of their puppet here, and all they have to do is wrap it around and they're ready to go. So the final thing would look something like this. Hello. Oh, hello. And these are the 2 puppets that we have here. So, just exactly as I said, they're made out of post-its. The kids will have so much fun making their own post-it puppets, creating their own plays and acting them out. And everybody will be joining in, and everybody will be participating, because you can do it in pairs or small groups. Everybody creates their own plays, then they act them out to the class. So that is finger puppets. Now, I've mentioned before, and it's very important, that variety is the spice of life. So you should at the moment be seeing a little scene on YouTube, if you plug into it, and it's a scene where I went to a local school so that you can see kids actually working with a string puppet. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that little scene. Now, I have been asked the question, how do you avoid too much teacher talking time when you're using puppets? Well, I realize that in a webinar you're getting a rather false impression because I am sitting here with the camera by myself, so obviously the only person talking is the teacher. But in reality, all the scenes that I am acting out for you with my puppets, the kids will act out straight afterwards. I am giving you the presentation stage, and the kids will be doing the acting out afterwards. So instead of it being too much teacher talking time, it will in fact be vastly improved student talking time because they'll be acting out with their puppets. Okay, so as we have seen, variety is the spice of life. It doesn't have to be a hand puppet. It could be a string puppet, as you've just seen. And the great advantage of string puppets, here we have Katie again, the great advantage of string puppets is that they are very good for presenting things in the present progressive. Katie is walking, and we can actually see her doing it. Okay, so we've come to the round up stage, and you've seen Katie the caterpillar in action, and there are just so many possibilities with puppets. You can present new structures with puppets in a more lively way, which will be more meaningful for the students. They'll understand it better. The kids can get lots and lots of practice because they make the puppets, they write the themes, they act the themes with the puppets. Remember, what I was just showing you is the bit the teacher does at the beginning. The students then go on to write their plays, to make their puppets, to act out their plays. And another thing that schools often ask me about is, are puppets suitable for end-of-year plays? Yes. Nothing could be more suitable. But it does mean that you're going to have something like puppet theatre. So I'm just going to show you very quickly how to make a puppet theatre, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. Now remember, we're not going to make a big puppet theatre for the entire class. We want all the kids involved. We want them all making their puppet theatres, or at least 2 at a time making a puppet theatre. All you really need is a shoebox. You take off the lid, and this is basically the theatre. Let me show you a more developed model, so I can show you all the cuts you have to make. Okay, this is also just a shoebox. At one end, you do a cut, like that. At the other end, you also do a cut. At the top, you do another cut. Obviously, small kids will need help with these cuts. The ones at the end are so the puppet can enter. The one at the top is so the kids can make their own backdrops. All they need is an ordinary bit of paper. They draw on the paper, and then they can fit it into that cut at the top. So if you can just see, here we have hills and the sun, and oh, the curtains. The curtains are not necessary at all, but they make it more fun for the kids. All you need is a piece of material, an old piece of material, some scissors, and some brown sticky tape. These curtains do not work. It's just a frill at the top, 2 straight bits down the side, and they're tied back with another bit of the material. So there you have a simple puppet theatre that any child can make. Remember, they're going to be saying, pass the scissors, who has a colour green? They're practicing a lot of English. What about the puppet for this kind of puppet theatre? Well, it couldn't be more simple. Here, the kids need a ruler. All kids have rulers. You need the brown tape again, and you need the paper again, and you need any kind of colours. Here I have crayons. It could obviously be felt tip pens. So, the kids draw the puppet on the paper. They colour their picture. They cut their picture out, leaving a bit at the end and then they stick their puppet into place on the ruler. So as you can see, I've done Pinocchio here. It's Pinocchio a bit longer. You wrap the bottom round your ruler and you stick it into place with the brown sticky tape. And then the kids, after they've written their play, can move their characters in their little theatre and act them out either at the end of a unit when they've finished a structure, or at the end of the semester, or as an end-of-year play. But remember, there'll be lots of plays, because probably you're only going to have 2 kids working on each theatre, although you could have 3 or 4, and all the class will be doing different plays and performing them to their parents. Okay, so that's the end of the talk as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to put up on the screen, well, thank you very much for tuning in to us today. This is my email address. I shall be delighted to answer any questions or queries if you just have to send me an email. And I just wanted to say thank you to the children in the Lancaster School in Mexico City who were with me on the Katie the Caterpillar scene. But now, I'm very pleased to spend the last 2 or 3 minutes answering questions. You got any questions there? Oh, thank you, Evelyn. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other ways to provide the input? Yes, of course there are. The input could have been a story in the textbook, and then you get the kids to act out the story. And any dialogue in a children's textbook that the children find interesting can be used as the input. Also, you could play music to them, strange music that might make them invent stories, or you could give them the first line of a dialogue on the board and each group develops it in different ways. Yes, you can give lots of different types of input, kick them off in many different ways, but you will find that they really do enjoy working with puppets. Of course, this is the part off I'm finding rather hard because I don't have my glasses on. Well, really, I think you're all being very nice to me. What if the children do not understand me? They will. Yes, they will understand you. They will understand you because the pictures and the puppets make it easy to understand. If you think you're having difficulty with understanding, don't do it at the presentation stage, do it at the practice stage, so that they're already aware of the language. The language that they are going to repeat has got to be the very simple language, the conversational language. You can be far more open with your narration, because there it doesn't matter if they only understand the idea, they don't actually have to understand every word. What they do have to understand is the overall idea so that they can work with the conversational bits themselves. Okay? Well, I think that's all today. I hope you enjoyed the webinar. Goodbye, everyone.